Hey guys, it's Eddie, and today I am back with another movie review for you all. Now, this movie was suggested to me to review by the power of Anonymous on Tumblr. And the movie that was requested of me very nicely was Valley Girl, starring Deborah Foreman and Nicolas Cage. And yeah, of course, I oblige. I love it when I get requests from anyone who wants me to do a movie review. It makes me so very, very happy. So if anybody else wants to suggest a movie for me to do, go ahead. But today's movie, as I said, is Valley Girl, the 1983 film, directed by Martha Coolidge. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, this movie, for anyone who hasn't seen it, basically centers around the lives of a team of young teenage girls centered in the Valley in Hollywood, and they are kind of deliberating about their love lives, and it soon comes that Julie, aka Deborah Foreman, realizes that she's not happy with her kind of mean, kind of annoying boyfriend Tommy. So she dumps him, and it just so happens that she encounters a very saucy looking boy on the beach who happens to be Randy, played by Nicolas Cage, and she re-encounters him at a friend's party, but surprisingly he is dressed like a punk. And the movie follows, the sort of disappointed disapproval of her friends, saying you shouldn't be with this guy, he's not like us. And it's kind of Julie's battle of deciding who she wants to be with, and it's really nice to say that at the end it has a really nice resolution. But now that we've got the brief plot out of the way, let's get down to the analysis of this movie. I think it's definitely inclusive of that classic culture clash, that sort of two people meeting from two different sides of society, which was kind of like a prominent theme in the 80s. We saw it kind of with the likes of The Breakfast Club, and it's kind of like, so it's like the Valley kids versus the punks. And we see in the film that Nicolas Cage's character and his friend Fred are sort of like shunned for the way they dress and the music that they listen to, because they're more quirky and unusual than what these Valley kids are used to. And I think it's definitely this kind of constant difference in, societal attitudes sort of projected into an 80s teen scene. And it's really interesting to see, because we have it centered really in one sort of one place. It's based in Hollywood, and it's really interesting to see that sort of American high school culture. I think it definitely transports you right back to the 80s. And I particularly loved the scene of when Julie and Randy were in the car with their friends. They were driving from the party down the strip, and he was sort of introducing the Valley Girl into this new sort of unusual seedy world that he was accustomed to. And it was kind of sort of a montage, and there was a lot of neon lights, and I really liked that. I think it was a really interestingly directed sequence, and I really liked that. I think at the beginning, or close to the beginning, there is a really quintessential sort of 80s party scene, like house party scene. And I think the accompanying soundtrack to that was brilliant. We had songs that really took you back, like Electric Avenue and Eyes of a Stranger. And I think it sort of gave a really sort of quirky teen energy to the film. And I liked it. I really enjoyed those kind of scenes. And the directing isn't the most amazing directing I've seen. I don't think it's amazing by anyone's standard. It's just kind of like normal. But what you get from it, because the film was like so like low budget, really, you get this sort of it's kind of like a newbie like vibe from the film. It's kind of raw energy, and I really like that. It's perfect for a film about teenagers, you know, discovering, you know, feelings for each other, and you know, that whole like first love thing, sort of rebelling against society. It's perfectly suited to that whole vibe. So even though the direction wasn't sort of, you know, heavily stylized or particularly spectacular, I thought it went along well with the theme of the movie. So in all cases it worked. I loved Nicolas Cage's performance as Randy, his sort of breathy recklessness, which sort of added to, you know, his teenage romanticism. I loved the scenes where he, after he and Julie sort of broke up, he was constantly trying to pursue her, constantly trying to persuade her. He would appear in sort of all aspects of her life, either as the movie usher or the waiter at the diner, and it was really cute. I loved those scenes, and I thought his sort of rebel performance was really quirky and enjoyable. I mean, like, I love particularly Nicolas Cage's earlier performances in the 80s and 90s. I think I really enjoyed him in Raising Arizona, and I definitely loved his performance in this film. I thought it was, even though he was trying to be this, or he was this sort of, you know, quirky punk, he came off really sweet and endearing in the end, which was adorable. And his chemistry with Deborah Foreman was particularly lovely. I think amidst this world where two societies were sort of against each other, and her friends were constantly telling her, you know, you shouldn't be with him, their sort of cute relationship was something that I really enjoyed, and I think they really suited each other on screen. I thought that the high school prom ending scene, you know, it's kind of typical for an 80s teen movie, so I thought, oh, is this going to be kind of really cheesy? And I thought it was funny, you know, Nicolas Cage's character sort of squaring up to fight with Tommy. I thought that was really good, and you know, it's a teen movie, so it's not going to be the most, you know, maybe it's not totally believable, the ending, because, you know, does this happen as often in real life as it does in teen movies? Probably not. But I liked the scenes, you know, at the end where Randy and Julie were in the car together and they were just laughing quietly. It kind of reminded me, that scene, of like an 80s revamp of The Graduate, that scene at the end of the film where they're sat in the bus just like laughing, except in this one they were actually happy together and they weren't silently reevaluating their lives. That was just like a weird comparison I made, but I thought the ending was really sweet and it wrapped it up nicely. I liked also the subplot of the character Skip and Susie's stepmom, Beth. I sort of liked the fact that we ran down a different path from the main romance. I really enjoyed that. It was kind of interesting and kind of, you know, quirky, and I enjoyed that. I thought it kind of kept you on your toes, the movie. It didn't leave you just hanging on Randy and Julie's romance. It took you to different places, and that was good. It didn't leave you feeling like bored or anything like that. I think the movie definitely captures that 80s teen Hollywood vibe, and it definitely transports you back to that time, you know, with especially with the fashion, and you know, and I particularly love the fact that in the script we see two different kinds of linguistics, two different kinds of dialects, because, you know, constantly throughout the movie you can pick up on the differences between Nicolas Cage's characters, sort of the way he speaks, the words he uses, and like Julie's, because she's a valley girl. It's literally two different worlds being put together, and I really enjoy that dynamic. I think it's great. Maybe it's not my, you know, preferred 80s movie to watch. You guys know, as I've said like 50,000 times, that, you know, The Breakfast Club is my favourite movie in the whole wide world, and I'd rather watch that than anything else. But I definitely when I watched this movie, I was definitely surprised by it. I didn't expect much from it, but what I got was a really enjoyable sort of hour and 40 minutes. It was a really lovely movie in the end, and you know, even though it was kind of filled with that raw, you know, teenage energy of the 80s, I still really loved it. And there was actually some really sweet romantic moments in it, which particularly blossomed from, I think, Nicolas Cage's and Deborah Foreman's chemistry on screen, which was just, you know, surprising for a low budget 80s teen movie. But it was lovely, and I think despite the fact that her friends kind of pushed her around and didn't want her to be with, you know, this weird sort of geeky punk, I thought the acting from the supporting cast of her friends was really good. So they had that really sort of quintessential 80s Californian teen drawl sort of vibe thing going on, and I really enjoyed it. I think it definitely showed you the pressures of, you know, your friends when you were a teen, and the fact that you should be more inclined to take your own path in life. I think there was some, you know, despite it being a teen movie, there were actually some good morals, and I really did enjoy this film, and I would recommend it to anyone who is a fan of the 80s and who is a fan of the 80s teen genre. I think it's definitely for you. I know it's not the most highly famed and well-renowned 80s movie, but for anyone who is a fan of 80s movies should definitely check it out, because I think it is great, and it's a little gem actually that a lot of people don't talk about, but I know there are some people out there that absolutely love this film, and I wouldn't hesitate to join them. I mean, as I said, it's probably not my favourite, but if I had to give it a rating, I'd probably give it like 3.5 stars out of 5. And, you know, for a low budget movie from 1983, I think that's good. And if you're having an 80s teen marathon, definitely include it, because I think a lot of people will be pleasantly surprised by this film. I think the performances from such a young cast at the time were brilliant. I know that apparently a lot of the scenes that were taken were rarely reshot. So, you know, for such a young cast to be able to do that and to do it sort of one time and one time only for most of the scenes, it was absolutely fantastic. And I think the really great performances and the story translated brilliantly onto the screen. And yeah, this movie for me is a little gem, and I would highly recommend this. It's a great film, and it's really fun. So, yeah, definitely check it out. I really enjoyed this movie, and thank you very much for the request, Anon on Tumblr. And I hope to see you in the next review. Remember, if anyone wants to request a movie for me to watch, just let me know, comment below, or ask me on my Tumblr account. And of course, I can't wait to the next one, but we'll see what's coming next. I am leaving for university in a couple of days, Saturday actually, so I don't know, I'll probably be able to get another review up this week, but it might take a little bit of time for me to create and post another one after that, just because I'll be settling in and stuff. But hopefully it won't be too long before you see me next after this week. I love doing these reviews, and I hope to do more for you guys. So I will sign off now because I'm rambling, but I hope you enjoyed my verdict on Valley Girl. So I hope to see you in the next one. Bye guys.